Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Gungans and droids, across our beloved empire. Are you one of those people in my comments that are always like, man, I've been playing the game for 5 years and I still don't have a Gear 13? Or are you someone new that you want to just make sure you're on the most efficient path possible to getting as many Gear 13 as possible? Because you might have big plans and big goals like getting Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, for example, in Galaxiers. Well, today we're going to do that. And for a lot of my veteran viewers out there that play Galaxiers, this might make your eyes roll. But yeah, you know, this video is actually quite helpful for a lot of people because things that you and I take for granted, a lot of people might not understand the nooks and crannies for peak efficiency for getting Gear 13 characters as fast as possible in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. On my free-to-play account, we're gonna do a slight mini update. Some people like to do a little roster tour here. I got Supreme Leader Kylo Ren for free back in March this year of 2022, so roughly a year from when we started it back in early 2021. Took about a year, and I was not even in a great guild, and the point was to show even when not in a great guild, you can still get top-end power without spending money in Galaxy Heroes. You just gotta have the frequency, you gotta have the determination, and just know what you're doing, because it's just like this. You can't expect to see the gains in the gym or get better at an instrument if you're not showing up every day, putting in the time, putting in the practice. This is very much a marathon-based game, not a sprint, unfortunately, like a lot of other games you might be accustomed to. Just do a little roster tour before we get too far into it. We got Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, obviously. That's kind of my main highlight on the free-to-play account, but I got him in March this year, 2022, and I'm already almost to Sith Eternal Emperor because it's not too far of a walk away from Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. We just got a couple more characters we got to get up and running, and I just got Maul today up to Relic 4. So we're closing it. I kind of just want to share some of my tips on how I've had it and how I've been able to make some stuff happen. That's primarily where our roster is based off. First Order, Empire stuff. Phasma Omicron's been absolutely amazing. My First Order TIE Pod's been amazing for Scandroid. It's such a well-balanced approach to the game because you have territory war viability, Grand Arena viability, raid viability with Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, territory battles viability, and of course we have a fantastic fleet, the Finalizer, which is important for us to participate in pretty much all the type of game modes out there: Fleet Arena, Grand Arena, and Territory Wars on top of it. And I don't even have a 7-star Finalizer. I've missed a couple events. That's part of my problem. And of course, CG makes it very infrequent, but nonetheless, you can get a lot of work done with a low-star Finalizer. Hopefully, I stop missing it, or hopefully CG makes the ships permanently available. But on that note, let's start talking about ways to get more gear on your characters, because as you see, it can be quite a pain to get these gear up and running. But we are supposed to get some more gear economy changes here shortly. Oh, they said that a year ago, so I don't know if it's going to be shortly. Tip number 1 here. This is super obvious again for my veteran players. Stick with me. And hey, if you're a veteran player that made it this far, feel free to put your tips down below. There might be some other things that you think might be helpful here. This is very obvious. Daily challenges. Hop in here every single day. You're going to get new gear that rotates in here, with, of course, probably the most important being these guys right here. We have our Carbantes. This is going to be a bottleneck. When you see it, pick it up. You're going to need those forever, like literally forever, ever. Here, we got updated recently, Mark 5 stun guns. I have a lot of those. I don't have a lot of Carbantes. So at this point, the daily challenge has helped me get on top of this, but it's having a hard time with the Carbantes. Hopefully they do address that. This one, not as many important things in here, but except the stun cuffs are quite nice here. So short and simple, go in here every single day to do your daily challenges. If you're not doing this every day, you're missing out on precious gear. And when they happen multiple times a week, it adds up over time. Next up here, you pretty much need to go through all of the shipments every single day, roughly 4 times. Every 6 hours. For some shipments kind of work a little bit oddly, but every 6 hours or so, you're going to have your shipments update with new gear. And it's pretty simple. This right here, you're going to see these up for credits right here. These are always using this currency right up here. Always pick it up, no matter what it is. Sometimes you're going to get some very helpful materials, such as the Mark III CNR Hollow Projector, or the Drain Sink that people like to call the Sink Drain. Always pick these up. No doubt about it. Weekly shipments, I don't go in here too often. Usually they have some credit offerings or some ally point offerings. I don't use my ally points there. I'll show you what I use my ally points for in a little bit here. Cantina battles. This is going to be kind of important here, and we're kind of jumping the gun a little bit. Here, there's no gear per se, but what I like to do, since I have a couple characters of 7 stars, this won't be applicable to you until you get your first 7-star characters out there. But what I like to do is, with my extra currency in shipments like the Cantina, for example, because there's not that many important things here. Once I got a character to 7 stars, I pick up extra shards from them. I just buy them. You might say, oh, that's a waste. It's not. because as we're gonna hop into the shard shop in a bit, that is super important to hyper drive your accounts here without having to spend any money. So there we go. That's my Cantina shipment, but that's not gonna be something you're gonna do right away. When you're first starting off, you're gonna obviously farm the characters you need, whether that's First Order Officer, whether you're going for Qui-Gon. It depends what your farming path is. But once you got your key characters you need, just spend the currency on that. This is very important. This is gonna be kind of a tip that I probably should state right now, because you can't play with the shipment until you get into a guild. I don't care what it is, you have to join a guild. You cannot play Galaxiers without being in a guild. And as I've shown, I was not even in a great guild for my free-to-play account, and I still got a Galactic Legend. But you need to be in a guild, because one, you're gonna get access to the shipments, which has gear and important characters that you're gonna need to farm, like Stark, Special Forces, TIE Fighter ship, Vanguard, the list goes on and on. You have to do it. And the reason why is inside the guild, there's a variety of different raids, which disperses lots of gear. At the minimum, you need to get out of the starter guilds. When you first get access to the guild, it just throws you into a starter guild. Get out of that. Hop into my Discord server. Go to the forums. There's a variety of resources out there to get into a guild. I'll leave my link down below to my Discord server, where people are always looking for players out there. And at the minimum, it shouldn't be that difficult to at least get into a guild that can do the heroic tier of the rank core raid. So at least you can get some decent gear that's needed for a lot of that purple stuff out there. Another reason why you need to be in a guild, because of these battles right here. Territory Wars, Territory Battles, the two other guild event things out there. And you're gonna also get access to the guild event store, which we'll get to in a little bit here. But here, there's two game modes with the Territory Wars. Let's just go show you the reward that you get. No matter what tier you're gonna be in, there's always gonna be a certain amount of gear that you're gonna get out of them through these little crates at the very end of the day. And now, of course, we have sliced materials, all that other fun stuff, but you're going to get necessary gear. A Grand majority of stuff is gear that you're going to need. Some of it you're gonna have an excess of, some of it you're not. You need to be in a guild, because again, you're gonna get some extra gear out of here. Make sure you participate in territories, because the developers don't like people just piggybacking. You gotta do a little bit of effort to get some points. And then, of course, you'll get the rewards. And Territory Battles gives you a big disbursement of crystals, and then it also gives you gear as well on top of that. You also want to get access to the guild store, the guild activity store, as well as the guild event store. But moving back up here, you're going to use this primarily to get a couple of characters that you need. For example, I needed Colonel Stark. I needed my Special Forces TIE Fighter pilot. You might be going for Zam Wessel. You might be wanting to get some other characters like Poplu. It depends what your guide is. Don't just farm everything. You're going to want to just farm the things that you need. And then once you have the things that you need, I pick up a variety of gear. Always pick these up. Whenever you see the Mark III CNR holo projectors, always pick those up. Carbantes, always pick them up. You might need some stun cuffs when you're first starting off. I have plenty because of the challenges now. I don't quite need as many of those. Carbantes, always pick them up. Whatever gear you need that's difficult to get, like a lot of these purple gears, you're going to probably want to pick those up to help you guys out. Squad Arena. Kind of the same thing I did in the Cantina battles not too long ago here. You're going to want to first start off by farming the characters you need, whatever it might be. Maybe you need Mace Windu. Maybe you need Grand Moff Tarkin, Kanan Jarrus. You pick the farming path you want, farm those important characters first, and then once you have the characters, you can either pick up some shard shop currency just by buying excess shards, or what I do, kind of important, I'm usually mostly buying these prestige mats to upgrade the abilities on my capital ships. That's kind of what I'm doing right now. But if you feel like your ships are in a good spot, picking up extra shard shop currency by getting extra shards for 7-star characters will go a long way. Galactic War. Again, same drill. I don't want to sound too repetitive. First, start off by farming the characters you need. I needed Zeb. I needed, I needed Captain Phasma as well. Not too many things I need right away. I did farm Poggle the Lesser. And then afterwards, you're going to farm extra shards for things that you need. Or kind of a nice tip if you feel like you're good on gear. I think this is kind of nice to farm for, at least residually, farming ship blueprints. I just farm them all. Eventually, you're going to farm all the stuff on there. But if your gear is more important for you, which probably for a lot of you guys it is, you probably just want to farm the ships that you need, then use the rest of the shards for the excess shard currency that we're going to show in a moment here. Mods, not a lot going on with mods here, but at times, if I feel like I have a little too much currency for fleets especially, I like to pick up some mods. This isn't really pertaining to gearing farming, but you know, mods are kind of an element to making your characters better. So usually I pick up mods that have at least some good speed secondaries and they have a potential to roll pretty high. I'll pick those up with my fleet currency because I have usually more of those than usual. Hopping over to the shipments here. again, first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to maybe farm a few things that you need. For example, I needed Boba Fett's Slave 1. I needed Darth Vader's TIE Advance. They usually pop up right here. I need them. Once you got the ships you need, I really don't spend too much time farming the other stuff until I need it for something else down the road for another project. Afterwards, you're pretty much just going to be farming Zeta materials out of here. And if you have extra stuff, I usually try to get the Razor Crest that pops up here. A little bit elusive, very hard to get. Usually it's just probably good to just start farming Razor Crest when you can. Otherwise, you're primarily just farming Zetamans. If you don't know what to do with this currency, you farm Zetamans. You shouldn't be hoarded up on too much of those. Even on my main account, the Zetamans. Guild event store. This is something that kind of pairs along with the guild conversation, man. You need to be in a good guild. You need to get access to this shipment here. For my first guild I was in, we were not doing Geonosis territories. Not a lick of it. Not light side, not dark side. It wasn't a great guild. Again, I wanted to challenge myself for the free-to-play count. So you're primarily, if you're not in a fantastic guild, you're probably just getting the Mark 1 guild event tokens, which is still great. What I use with this usually, look at all this stuff. This is huge. This is what helps you get to those gear 13s fast, because once you get to gear 12 by using a lot of those other shipments, for example, the guild store this is kind of to help you get to gear 12. You're not really going to find gear 12 pieces here. This is to get you through the purple gear up to gear 12. And the way I see it, guild event store is critical to getting from gear 12 to gear 13. And that's where you're going to farm, for example, your gear 12 pieces. Over here, you're always going to be needing this stuff one way or another. Don't just buy them randomly. Like I have some currency hoarded up right now. What I recommend doing is either one, prepare, know exactly what gear you want. So if you're working on Darth Maul, check out SWGoH.gg. I'll leave a link down below in the video description. You can actually look ahead and see, all right, I need this gear. So, you know, because time is one of the aspects of this game. If you can start hoarding up in advance of a character getting to gear 12, it's going to speed up the process, getting to gear 13. So either one, prepare in advance, or, you know, once you have a character gear 12, it'll just show you what you're going to need. And the way I recommend doing that, when you bookmark characters, it's going to show you a little indicator when you're browsing through gear that says, hey, this character is going to need gear. So highly recommend when you're farming and gearing up characters, bookmark them. So as you're going through the shipments, you get a little reminder visually that, hey, you should probably pick up some of this gear here. And eventually I moved over to a better guild that doesn't do light side GOTB, but does dark side GOTB. And now I'm getting access to Mark 2 guild event token currency. And usually I'm only using that to farm the very difficult things to acquire, like the Negotiator, hopefully my next capital ship here soon. And if you wanted to, you could buy some Chirotechs, but usually I use it exclusively for Negotiator. But this stuff, feel free to use it. Use it on these guys right here for the gear. If you are pursuing a Darth Malik, or you're pursuing a, for example, Jedi Master Luke, you might need to make sure you're picking this stuff up. But that's why Primitive Kyle is great, because I can focus my currency not on these guys, but instead on these important things down here for the gear. Grand Arena, I primarily am only using this to pick up Chirotech. This Chirotech, you're always going to need it forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. So if you see it and you have the currency, just pick it up. Occasionally, you will see the Gear 12 finisher pieces in here, like the Injector Cell Salvage. You know, you can pick those up sometimes as well, but I usually just go straight for the Chirotechs. You're going to need them every single time. And this leads up to the Shard Shop and my conversation on ally points and the Bronzium cards. As you saw, we just went through a couple of different shipments, picked up some random shards. 450 Shard Shop currency. This shipment is just way too important. People sleep on it. Once you got 7-star characters, you'll get access to the Shard Shop, and then any excess characters shards that you're getting for your 7-star characters, it just gets converted into Shard Shop currency. And this is where you're going to pick up a variety of gear depending on what you need. So probably what I should be doing is looking ahead and saying, all right, what gear does Count Dooku need? Because he's going to be my next Gear 12 character. What does Director Krennic have? Jedi Knight Anakin have? And I'm going to start picking up this gear. So the way to get that Shard Shop currency is by just getting extra duplicate shards down the road. I will mention this briefly, Conquest. I don't put a lot of time in Conquest on free to play because I got to do way too much on the main account. But if you do pursue Conquest relatively decently, you can use this currency to pick up some gear. So probably, you know, honestly, I should probably pick up some of this. Or as you're going through Conquest, you're going to come across a variety of different Scavenger Nodes that'll have access to a variety of different gears. Gear 12 gear, purple gear, whatever you're looking for. This one doesn't have it. So this guy right over here, you can't see it right now, but these wandering scavengers, usually midway through a sector, have a couple good pieces of gear that you're might want to pick up, or some relic stuff depending on your farming needs. So yeah, again, another great area to pick up some gear in Galaxy of Heroes. Conquest happens usually once a month, give or take, and it's kind of a good way of getting gear. And of course, as well, when you get your crate at the very end, you're going to get some gear, or as you're just doing it, you're going to pick up some stuff along the way. So that's why you want to do it, because if you can, chances are you're not going to max out Conquest right away, but it's got some gear associated with it, and more gear means more ways to get faster gear characters. And I just and I haven't taken advantage. This is me, do as I say, not as I do. I don't put a lot of effort on free-to-play Conquest. It takes a lot of time, and the main account that I have already takes quite a lot of my time to do Conquest, but you definitely should be engaging in that right there. Moving on over to our Bronzium data cards right here. With these ally points, the reason why I don't use them in the weekly shipments is because I use them to open up Bronzium data cards, and you want to try to keep on top of it, because if you get lazy, it just stacks up, and without quality of life tools or using things, for example, like hot utils, it's gonna be a big pain in the butt. But I'm getting extra shards of these characters that I already have at 7 stars. You're likely going to get Barris. You're likely going to get Poggle the Lesser. You're likely going to get a lot of characters 7 stars through this. And when you're opening these up, you get some gear. It's probably going to be turned into scrap likely for when you need relics. But you're getting, look at that. You're just getting shards of characters. And eventually you're going to get lots of shards for characters you already have at 7 stars. So that's why I have 20,000 currency of shard shop currency, because I just opened up some Bronzium packs not too long ago, and that's a lot of free gear, 12 gear, just sitting there. Do not sleep on this. It's probably the biggest thing that people seem to miss out here. So those are the basic things, but let's go over even more basic things. This is incredibly important. A lot of people don't understand. Like, I've been level 60 for the past 8 months. What am I doing wrong? Or someone told me it's impossible to get to level 85. You have to spend at least a year, which is far from the truth. Kind of like what we said, you need to show up the Galaxy series. If you're serious about it, want to make some progress, you got to show up every single day. Do what I've shown you. Do it multiple times a day with all the shipment stuff, but you got to make sure you're doing your daily activities every single day. You're going to get some experience points. You're going to get crystals. Importantly, you get some bonus energy once every couple hours here. And at the end of it, once you complete your daily activities, you're going to get an extra batch of crystals. And on top of that, you're also going to have gear when you complete it all. And you're also going to get the variety of currencies as well. You got the crystals. You're going to get some gear right over here. You usually get some Chirotechs. That's another great way of getting Chirotechs into your account, and just core gear pieces that you need right here. Again, it seems like a little bit, but every single day you show up, it adds up over time. Again, it's a marathon-based resource management game. Now we got to talk about pretty much what the bread and butter is of farming. Maybe I should have talked about it first, but I think everyone knows about the energy farming. It's the shipment farming people ignore, and the shard shop as well on top of that. With your energy farming, there's a balance. One thing I've noticed, people like to stretch themselves way too thin. They like to farm like 20 characters at once. That's not how you do things around these parts of town. You have your fleet energy, you have your cantina energy, normal energy, mod energy. Mod energy, we're not going to focus much on her. We have a mod guy talk about how to use that effectively. But here, you kind of want to just have only a couple of character shard farms at a time. So that way you have some leftover energy. So that way you can farm, yourself some gear. My strategy for energy is you should be able to, at least at the minimum, refresh a couple of times, go through all the 50s, and then I usually stop at the 100 crystal refreshes. If I feel like I have a nice stash of crystals hoarded up, I'll go ahead and maybe do one more, but usually I do all the 50s. You should be able to afford the several 50 crystal refreshes for the normal energy, and what that gets me is that's usually enough to farm usually 2 dark side characters. Right now I'm farming Jedi Anakin, I'm farming Director Krennic, and don't sleep on ships. I can't go into much detail here. We talked about other types of videos. And then I farm a couple of ships as well. So for example, Emperor Shuttle, that is on the dark side battle. You got to farm that. You're probably gonna need the farm Houndstooth. So you should be able to handle like about three-ish dark side, light side energy farms. And then you should have some leftover energy for example, the fleet battle ships. TIE Echelon, for example, is a fleet battle. And then with your leftovers, energy, and your refreshes, that's when I start farming gear. So I just finished Darth Maul, for example, but I was farming Chirotech. With your leftover energy, after you're done farming the characters of the day, you hop in here and you find what gear you need. I have to probably do the battles, but I use my leftover gear for this stuff right here. So energy farming is critical as well. That's kind of the obvious point, but I just want to emphasize how many refreshes you should be doing. Cantina, you're usually just using that for relic farming, or you're farming some characters. Like I need to farm Sith Marauder up to 7 stars here. So primarily you're using a fleet energy and a normal energy to farm your characters, and then whatever energy you have left over, use it for gear. If you spread yourself too thin, you have too many hard node farms, and you find yourself, I don't have any extra energy to farm ships, that's probably a good indicator to maybe cut down on 1 or 2 ships or characters that you're farming. Don't go too thin here. Now there's a couple of other like extra ways of getting gear that aren't like the most important things in the world. For example, in Squad Arena, I don't do this on the main account or on my free-to-play account because I have to use my shards for other stuff. But at the bottom, if you need some of the lower pieces of gear, this could be a nice way of doing it. I usually don't find myself using stuff here. I'm usually getting the duplicate shards or the prestige tokens to then go into the shard shop to get even more gear 13 characters that I need here. That's one way. Another thing we have going on here, we have galactic challenges. These pop up fairly frequently here with the galactic challenges. You're not always going to max out the crate. Likely, you're not going to get many maxed out crates. The goal is, it's going to be hard to get it at first, but over time, your goal should be at the minimum to shoot for this crate here because 1, you get Omicrons in here, and you also get a nice spread of gear as well. So again, another way a little bit adds up over time. Try to get as far as possible. If you can get as close as possible to tier 8, you're looking pretty good. But even so, even if you're not getting the highest crates, let's say I give up here, you're still getting gear. So make sure you're doing galactic challenges because you're going to get a variety of gear, and you're also going to get character shards along with it here. So don't forget about that. Also in Grand Arena is your primary source for crystals, which feeds into your energy farming, which is the lifeblood of this game. When you're playing Grand Arena, you're going to get hopefully some good gear at the end of the cycle, and that's where you're going to get some extra Grand Arena currency. You're going to get some guild event currency here, and of course some varieties of gear as well as slicing materials, mods, crystals. Incredibly important. Engage of Grand Arena. You have to sort of, if you want to be active, get crystals without having to spend any money inside a galaxy of heroes. Otherwise, that's kind of the grand extent of how to be farming stuff in Galaxy Heroes with the gear to get as many gear 13s as possible. I know this is kind of obvious. Make sure you build a decent fleet so you can climb as high as possible inside a fleet arena. So that way you get extra crystals every day. Make sure you try to engage with Grand Arena at the minimum. Do at least 1 or 2 battles to get your crystals. But if you try to be active in it and climb as high as possible, you're going to get some good rewards as a result of it. But I just want to emphasize one more time, it's just incredibly important. Once you get your first 7-star characters, convert those extra shards into shard shop currency, because as a result, you're going to get yourself a lot of gear 12s, getting to gear 13 even faster without having to spend a single dime. People sleep on this and the fact that you got to show up every day, put into work, get through all the daily challenges. Those are probably the most important things. And of course, being in a decent guild and try to upgrade your guild when you feel like your roster allows you to play with some better folks out there in Galaxy of Heroes. So guys, thank you so much for stopping by. I know this might seem like an obvious video, but hey, if at least one of these tips changes someone's gameplay, man, this video is totally worth it then. So hopefully you enjoyed today's little free-to-play update. Excited to get Sith Eternal free-to-play in a couple months here, and then we're going to probably work on like Executor Star Killer type of stuff, which I'm very excited for. But no matter what you do, stick to a schedule, get in a good guild, show up every day, show up multiple times a day to clear out those shipments, and you're going to see you're going to be on a nice steady track to dominate Galaxy of Heroes. And you're going to say, I guarantee you at the end of it, how it's great to be in the Empire today.